I added more hoes to Minecraft, ranging from the replanting hoe that can harvest and replant crops on right click, to the Hoe that makes crops rarely drop presents when harvested. This brand new data pack adds a total of 15 new hoes to the game, with all sorts of wacky abilities. So let's get this hoedown started. So what is added by this data pack? More hoes adds 15 new hoes, those being the Replanting Hoe, the Big Hoe, the Fortune Hoe, the Side Hoe, the Farmer's Hoe, the Lucky Hoe, the Tobac Hoe, the Tally Hoe, the Dying Hoe, the Giant Replanting Hoe, the Potato, the Composting Hoe, the Idaho Hoe, the Hoe, and the Back Hoe. Well, let's jump right into it. The Replanting Hoe, as you might expect, lets you right-click on a crop to harvest it and get the drops, and then it also replants it at the same time. You can hold it down and harvest your crops rather quickly using this hoe. This hoe is really simple, but something that is very often requested that Mojang add to the game, and so I figured I would do it for them. The Big Hoe is the perfect hoe for setting up your farms. When you right-click with it, it will hoe a 5x5 area, and yeah, you can till a whole lot of soil all at once. And it doesn't just work on flat land, it will also go up and down terrain. But if there's like grass or something in the way, that will not be tilled. So basically it just works exactly as you would expect. And it also works on coarse dirt, turning it into regular dirt. Moving right along, we have the Fortune Hoe, and this one is rather simple, but basically it's just a hoe that's been enchanted with Fortune 10. And if you didn't know this, if you break a crop while you have Fortune on a tool, you'll actually get a whole lot more drops. There you can see we just got, I mean, I can't do math in my head, but that was a lot of them. So we could harvest our field and get a whole lot higher output. And so this is quite the powerful hoe. Next we have the Side Hoe, and this one is not only a joke, but it's also a weapon. It doesn't deal a whole lot of damage, but it has quite a fast swing rate. And so you can hit mobs with it rather quickly. I don't know how powerful it is. I did some testing with it, and it did seem to be fairly on par with like a diamond sword. But yeah, I thought it was just a funny kind of joke item. And I do believe, yeah, it will take durability loss, and you won't be able to enchant it with sharpness because it is a hoe. I thought it looked really funny to hold a hoe upside down, and the joke was kind of too good to pass up, so I went for it. Next up we have the Farmer's Hoe, and this one, when held, will slowly increase the speed of growth of the crops around you. So you'll see every like 10 to 15 seconds, like 10 crops around you will get a growth increase. So we just saw a handful of them. As you can see, they grew just a little bit taller. And we can see that one more time. It will be fairly random which crops actually end up growing. But yeah, if you're outstanding in your field like I am, you can end up growing your crops a whole lot faster and get a big harvest because of it. Now, the field that I'm normally outstanding in is data pack development, not farming. But yeah, anyway, that's what this one does. Pretty simple. Moving right along, we have the Giant Replanting Hoe, and this one is incredibly simple to explain. Basically, it's a replanting hoe, but it does a 3x3 area. So you can very quickly harvest all your crops. It's a whole lot faster than using the regular replanting hoe. And yeah, this one's super satisfying to use. I love this one a lot. And right about here is where I ran out of good ideas and switched over into great ones. Yeah, definitely. And so the Dying Hoe is the next one. And this one doesn't actually get used on crops. Instead, you use it on flowers. You can right-click a flower and it will transmorph into a different type of flower. And you can do this pretty quickly, and it will just cycle through all of the different flower types in the game. Except for wither roses. I decided to leave that one off the list because of the abnormal way that you obtain a wither rose. So yeah, this can be a way to take one flower and get another one. Next we have the Tally Hoe, and this one is mostly here for the pun. But when you right click with it, number goes up. And when you shift right click with it, number goes down. And yeah, that's all there is to this one. I don't know. There might be some use for it if you're counting something, maybe. But it was really easy to make and kind of funny pun, so I went with it. Next up is the Tobac Hoe. And this one is basically just a cigar, and when you smoke it, it will damage mobs around you and make a whole bunch of smoke. However, you'll notice, if you're observant, that the player that's using it also gets a wither effect. So whenever you use this, you damage yourself and everything around you, which I thought was fairly realistic because that is basically what smoking does. Moving right along, we have the Lucky Hoe, and this one is really cool, and for once, not a pun. The Lucky Hoe, when harvesting crops, has a chance to give an alternate drop. So in this case, it can sometimes drop golden carrots when harvesting carrots. But I didn't stop at that. You can also sometimes get golden beetroots. Maybe. You can get golden wheat. Maybe. And you can get golden potatoes. After getting a bit luckier, you'll see that golden carrots are obviously golden carrots, but golden potatoes and golden beetroots and golden wheat are also golden carrot worth food items. So essentially, if you harvest any of your crops, you can get some new powerful food drops. Moving right along, we have the backhoe, and this one I got a little carried away with. Yeah, it's a full-on construction equipment tool. Yeah. Anyway, the backhoe, when you break a block, will actually mine out a 3x3x3 of all dirt harvestable equipment. So it's basically a really powerful shovel of sorts. And yeah, it looks pretty silly and it's quite powerful. I'd call that the perfect combination. And then there's the Ho Ho Ho, and this one is obviously Christmas inspired, and because of that I made it so sometimes, quite rarely when you harvest crops, a present will drop, and after a short time, you'll either be deemed naughty or nice. And in this case I was nice, so I got a name tag. Here I got a couple more presents, and you can see we got some coal there. And we also got a couple things like some pumpkin pies, an Eye of Ender, just somewhat useful stuff. The loot table that you can actually get has a pretty extensive amount of things that you can get. And so this one's going to be worth playing around with. Here's what running the loot table a handful of times looks like. And then I decided to make Idaho. And if you're quite astute, you would notice that this hoe has the outline of the state of Idaho in the United States. Idaho is rather well known for their potatoes, so I decided to make this one where if you hoe a block, a whole bunch of potatoes fall from the sky and do various things. So there are 3 different types of potatoes that can fall. Regular potatoes just deal some damage. Poisonous ones will cause wither damage. And then baked potatoes will leave some fire around and light mobs on fire. Next on the list is the Composting Hoe. And this one, as the name implies, when you break a crop, it will transform whatever was dropped into bone meal. And it gives you a much better exchange rate than the composter would. And so you can use this to get a whole lot of bone meal to reinvest back into your crops. And apparently it doesn't convert poisonous potatoes, which I do believe is correct. Yeah, you are not able to compost poisonous potatoes, and so it won't convert them. And then finally, last and probably least, we have the potato. I love the name on this one, and it is used to give yourself lots more poisonous potatoes. You can see every time an orange flash appears, you just got an extra poisonous potato. Why you would want those poisonous potatoes, I'm not entirely sure because they're not exactly a useful item. But now you have an item that lets you get loads of them. So go ham, use this item, and get tons of poisonous potatoes. Sure, why not? So those were the 15 hoes added by the pack. I make silly data packs like this all the time, so hit that subscribe button to not miss out on future content coming to the channel. And I also make tutorials on how to do this stuff yourself if that is of interest to you. Most people have been saying that I make great tutorials, so yeah, check those out. Thanks so much for watching.